Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, right? We've talked earlier about, in retrospect, WexEnergy as a winner last year around some of the challenge statements that we put forth made sense. And as we've thought about or surmised on what might come up this year, I've shared, I think it's not so obvious. It's the tech entrepreneur often that finds the problems to these solutions. I'm curious what your experience was what it was like working with the Tech United community last year and how it met or hopefully exceeded your expectations.
Yeah, so as one of the largest utilities in the nation, candidly, we don't have any shortage of large companies knocking on our door saying, what do you think of this new turbine? What do you think of this new transformer? Multi-million dollar investments. But small companies will often say to us, getting on your preferred vendor list, getting into your supply chain network is a bit of a challenge. And it's the old adage, right? Nobody ever gets fired for buying from IBM. At least that's something people used to say when I was younger. Maybe they don't say that anymore. So getting more intimate with the entrepreneurial community, meeting 59 companies as a result of last year's challenge is something that is, I won't say it's completely new to us, but something that we don't practice quite so often. And then being able to work with Wex with their window pane treatment and the ability to help reduce heat loss through one of the primary avenues for heat loss is something that really wouldn't have happened had we not engaged the way we did last year. And I'm sure that we're going to have a similar story to tell this year.
I can't tell you how proud it makes me to hear you say that, because the reason that we work on these kinds of partnerships is to do exactly what you just described, to accelerate opportunity with small companies who struggle to knock on the doors of big companies, as you mentioned, and see if we can create real opportunity. So I can't stress enough how much we appreciate the relationship with PSEG, with Tech United, and really the tech community, because I do believe this is the critical linchpin of what will make New Jersey break out in the tech community. And I hope that other large corporate CEOs in the region follow your lead in this regard. I'm not just saying that, that's been my theory in how I believe we can propel the tech community of this region, and I appreciate your support there. On the flip side, what have you learned about PSEG in trying to bring innovation, which I'm sure you've done outside of WexEnergy, but in regards to this experience, in trying to bring something external from a smaller company inside the doors of a PSEG?
I found that when we deal with the entrepreneur, we do have to serve two masters. On the one hand, we're delighted to meet people who can come up with innovative solutions to customer problems, like not wanting to pay extra money for having your home heating the neighborhood. On the other hand, there are a whole variety of regulatory standards and conditions that we have to meet that then, candidly, to the entrepreneur may seem bureaucratic. What underwriting lab has measured the effectiveness of your technology? Is it tamper resistant? How easy is it to install? How much training do we have to put our folks through to have them do this? So there's a little bit of that procedure bound aspect of working with us that I'm sure may be a source of frustration for the entrepreneur, which we have to constantly rein ourselves in and realize that, okay, we're dealing with someone that doesn't have the resources of our typical vendors, a General Electric, a Siemens, folks like that. So we're having to navigate those waters together, and I think I know we're getting better at that, and I promise we will continue to emphasize that. But I do think that helps the entrepreneur as well, because they won't have to then go through and relearn those hoops when they deal with some other large utility, which will impose the same burdens on them.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it the way that you do. I think your empathy towards what the entrepreneur may see as frustration is a learning process that does do exactly what you described, right? A startup and an entrepreneur is about finding product market fit. When they work with a large corporation like a PSEG, they find scale. And so working through those kinks with the PSEG, sets them up for success to find scale. So, having spoken to Wex, and we talked with them earlier today in this program, I know they've been really thrilled with the results here and appreciate the commitment, regardless of what, may seem to you as a frustration. They had nothing like that to share.
Well, that's great to hear, because I remember when I was talking to my team also in preparation, so how are we doing? Immediate feedback, so I go, we've had 9 meetings with them. And like, well, wait a minute, that may not necessarily be a good sign, right? Maybe after the second meeting, we ought to have a couple of deployments, but I'm glad to hear it. And I have no doubt that once we get the right rating system in place, that we'll be able to deploy that technology and save customers some money and save the planet from some carbon emissions.
I think that they appreciate the diligence, because if I believe they understand that once it will work with PSEG, they can bring it to other markets. So the fact that they have a friendly ear in a partner here is part of the point. They have a little bit more of a partnership than the risk of, you just get kicked out of the meeting and that's that. So I think they appreciate that.